everything in that moment. And as soon as I knew, I just, I just knew I wasn't going to be here and I was surrendered to go. But I didn't know that to go meant to die. And that's when I knew I was leaving. I was not staying here no more. And then clink, I was out.
Kia ora, hello, and welcome back. I'm Kirsty Salisbury, host of this podcast, the Let's Talk Near Death podcast. We talk about everything. We talk about life, death, experiences in between, near death experiences, spiritual experiences, so many topics. And today, I'm very excited to have a conversation which I think is so important. It's not a conversation I've dedicated a whole podcast episode to before. It comes up in conversation. But I'm talking with Lorri Brewer, who is all about what do you do with a near-death experience? What do you do when you've had a near-death experience and you come back, and how do you reintegrate into this physical world that we're in? How do you get back into life, and how do you come to terms with everything you've experienced? So I'm really looking forward to this. Lorri Brewer, welcome along. This is going to be amazing. I can feel it.
Thank you, Christy. I'm so excited to be here. When I saw this podcast and just to share space with another near-death survivor, I was just tickled pink and I'm so excited. So I can't wait to have this little time with you, and I'm grateful to share space. So I'm looking forward to our time.
Yeah, thank you. Let's jump straight into it. You had your own near-death experience. When was this? How did it happen? What took place for you?
So it was, believe it or not, 15 years ago. And people always think, well, 15 years ago, that should have been over and done with by now. But honest to God, it's almost like it just happened yesterday. So it happened
Yeah.
September 19th, 2010. And when I was in my teen years, they diagnosed me with a cardiac condition called a supraventricular tachycardia. And basically, what happens is the heart doesn't pump, it just quivers. So when it quivers and it goes into a spasmodic mode, you have to go to the hospital. Your blood pressure drops a little bit, and the blood is not circulating, so they have to stop your heart with medicine. If that doesn't work, then they have to cardiovert you and shock you back to life. Now, that is a nuisance in life. That was never going to kill me. So it was just more like having, I'm not going to say an asthma attack, but it was kind of put to me more like just a nuisance, just something that you didn't expect would happen, and you'd have to go to the hospital, stop what you're doing, and get back to normal. Well, after about 130 of them, because my cardiologist said, in a lifetime, you might have like 8, 10, 20.
Hang
So I
on,
started counting,
130?
thinking, well, this will go away soon. So on September 19th, 2010, it was a beautiful day, and I always know when my SVTs are happening. I always can feel them coming on. It's like coming on with a migraine. I could always feel it, but this one was different. This one was more, it happened late at night at about like 11, 12 at night. And I just had curled up into bed, and it was almost like a gasping. It was like somebody put their hand on my mouth, and then I gasped back, and I was in a full SVT, but I knew this one was different. And I knew it was different that I knew I wasn't coming home. Like I had a gut feeling I wasn't coming home. But I always explain, well, people say, well, then you must have known. Well, no, you don't know, because you don't know what not coming home means. I didn't put it to myself like, oh, you're going to die. That was never put to me. So my husband at the time drove me to the hospital. And when we drove to the hospital, I always got, because it was a cardiac care, I always got care immediately. But this time was different. And I slipped through the cracks, and then nobody could help me. And then I got pushed to a side, and then pushed to a side, and pushed aside. And then the IV wasn't going in. And then 20 minutes later, normally within, honest to goodness, like 45 seconds to a minute, I had care. This time it was 20 minutes later and I still had no care. So it was just a busy night. Everything that could go wrong did go wrong. Everything in that moment. And as soon as I knew, I just, I just knew I wasn't going to be here, and I was surrendered to go. But I didn't know that to go meant to die, because I didn't think in a million years that would happen. So the good news and bad news is I was in the hospital. There's all these people around me, and now they call it a code blue because I was crashing very quickly. And I didn't really know that the code was for me. I didn't have that grasping feeling. I wasn't scared,
Mm.
but I was starting to lose control of my functions. And that's a bad sign, apparently, as the body starts to slip. But again, I didn't know that. So ignorance is bliss. And then in that one moment, I had said to my husband, and I was okay. I wasn't crying. I wasn't traumatized. I just gave him instructions like a kid coming home from school. I just gave him instructions and said, you have to take care of my mom because she was elderly and I was doing all her cooking and I'd go to her house and clean. My son was in his teen years. I wanted to make sure he had a college degree or a college education. Make sure you put the money here and take care of this. And he was like, what are you doing? Like, what are you talking about? And that's when I knew I was leaving and I was not staying here no more. And then clink, I was out. Just like that.
Wow. And what was that like when you were out?
Oh my gosh, that was okay. So this is the
Big
thrilling
question.
part for me. This is the remorseful part and the thrilling part. So yes, the good news is I was surrounded by doctors. And yes, I was hooked up to an ECG machine. And on my website, I have an actual cardiac strip of that night. You will see that I was in arrhythmia. That's a real strip from the real hospital. You will see that I have cardiac arrhythmia on one side of the strip. You will see that there's a flat line, and then you'll see normal heart rhythm going back. I'm a very visual person, and I think because I'm from, it's like show me state, like I need to see it. So I think the visual impact of a cardiac strip from in a cardiac arrhythmia into back to normal rhythm, back to normal rhythm, that in between flat spot is the best place I've ever been. I have a child, and that's the biggest blessing in my life. And if I had to compare, they're almost side by side between my child and that sacred spot. They're so both very sacred to me. That's on the same level. And the moment I didn't really realize I was losing my body because my brain was functioning. They were going 56 over 27. That was my blood pressure. That was when I was still trying to
Wow.
hear. And I was trying to divide. You want me to put 56 into 27? Like I didn't have my brain wasn't functioning. My blood was draining from my head. I was throwing up. My body was shutting down. And then I laid back, and one of these male nurses came up and he said, you're in good hands. And my brain and my head was, I'm going to good hands. That's what I heard. Apparently, he said, you're in good hands, and I was leaving. Now, when you have the tunnel, I didn't have the tunnel in the very beginning. Maybe I don't remember it like that. That's not how it was. The next thing that I have feelings of is I was I wasn't standing, but I was looking at this chaos at the hospital. I was out here looking at all that chaos and I was watching it, but you don't see it like humans with hair and eyes and glasses and boys and girls. You don't see that. I saw infrared. I saw like shadows of gray, and each one of those energies was humming at a such a high tone that it kind of hurt your teeth. Like it was kind of like, oh, and it just vibrated everything through. And it was so not loud in there, but it was like impressioningly loud. It was so loud. And my dad was beside me. Now, my dad, just for the story, he had passed away 2 years earlier. But my dad, in this moment, was very alive to me. We weren't standing body to body, but my dad was like right beside me. And we were both kind of watching this. And it was like, I would telepathically say to him, oh, it's like loud in here. And he'd be like, yeah. And he was kind of like, what? Like, watch, like, look at this. And I was looking, and then I could hear the people at the nurse's desk, and they were complaining about something. And I was looking back, and it was just so loud. And I just said to him, like, take me somewhere quieter. Like, it's too loud here. And then I went to this darkest, beautifulest, softest, calmest pocket of just gentleness. And now when I say darkest, the people have this impression or envision or perception that dark is bad and heaven and or hell and death. And it was no, it was the most calmest, serenest, peaceful pocket. I went snorkeling once, and when you put your head in the water and you're just alone with the ocean and you're just one with the fish and you're just alone, that's how it was, except it was in calm, calm, calm darkness. And my dad, I was happy to stay with him. I was happy. I was so happy. And my dad was not one for lots of words. So it wasn't like he would always say how proud he was. I was not that I was never good enough, but it was always like, you got to do better. You got to do better. A woman in a man's world. And so I think he tried to toughen me up, but that equated to not really having a lot of validation of how maybe good I was already in the business world. But in that pocket, it was like, like I'm proud of you and this is great. And now you got to go back. You got to go back and you got work to do. You got to go. And I'm like, oh no, 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 no. Because I know there's no touching. So I know he can't put me back. And I'm like, no, I'm not going back. Now I have a son back there. I have my mom who is elderly. She needed me to take care of the food and do all, I bought her all their groceries. I had a husband, a new husband that he he relied on me in the business world. Like every people needed me, and I was in the most contentness. I don't know if that's a word. I was in the most pocket of beauty. I just the breathtaking beauty and peace of what was there. The fact that I had to go be removed to go anywhere else was not going to happen. And then next thing I know, it felt like my dad's leg bumped me. And then I was back and I was looking at my husband, but my dad's face would go on top of my husband, and then my dad's face, and then my husband's face, and my dad's face. And I'm looking and I'm telepathically saying to my husband at the time, I said, like, well, where am I? And then he wasn't answering. And I'm like, well, where's dad? And he's not answering. And he's just looking at me like stupid. It's like, and I'm literally my eyes are open and I know my eyes are open and I'm talking to him, but he can't hear me and it doesn't dawn on me I have to use my mouth to talk. It didn't register that this was working. And then it connected and I looked at him and I said, "Where's dad?" Because I thought he was with me and dad now. I said, "Where's dad?" And then his face got like, and I thought, well, you're with me and dad, because clearly I could see my dad's face on top of his face. So I clearly my dad's here. And I said, well, where is he? Where's dad? And he didn't know what to say. And I'm like, well, where am I? And I meant, well, where am I? Am I there? Where am I? And he goes, you're at the hospital. And I'm thinking, what? I'm like, well, what happened? Meaning, not what happened. I mean, what happened to the other place that I just left? He goes, oh, you had an SVT. I'm like, where's dad? And he gets this look on his face and he's like, now imagine the poor guy. His
Yeah.
wife, he's just watched his wife die on the table in this code room. They tried to resuscitate me. They couldn't figure out why I wasn't coming back alive again. Here, this poor man watches his world, his life, his career, which is tied to me. He's watching his entire life slip away. And I come out, I pop out after this, and the words out of my mouth are, where's dad? I don't even know if I was in a spot. I don't even know how I would answer that. I don't even know a poor guy. So thinking about it now, when I retrospect, it was like, whew, that would have been a terrible question. But I craved for my dad, and I couldn't
Mm,
understand why I couldn't get those two worlds to come together. Like, why am I here on this physical plane? And everything about this world was brighter for me. My ears, my hearing was so sensitive. My eyes to light were so sensitive. We had to shut the lights off. Like all my sensitivities were through the roof. And I couldn't understand, why was I back here? Like, why did I get bumped back here? I don't know where I was, but
mm,
I do know I sure as hell don't not want to be here. I want to go back there. And how do I get back there? That's the only thought in my head was, how do I get back there? Like, how do I go there? And that's how this whole reintegrating, where did I go? What happened? I come from a data-driven world where one plus one is two. I come from a sold comparables and factual data. You can't go and tell me something mystical and airy fairy. I have to see it, touch it. I know where I went. I know it's real, but I don't know how to make words of that in this human land. But it didn't dawn on me that you can't, for something vibrational, you can't put human words on it. So I've been struggling with the reintegration. It's taken me 15 years to actually learn how to live on this earth again.
mm, mm. It totally makes sense that it would take that long. It took me many, many years as well. Just what was that? What the heck? And what's come to mind for me as you're talking, Laurie, is oil and water, how they can't go together. They can be together, but they can't become together. They can't become one. They can't mix. They can't merge. And it's almost like there's two worlds, and we don't even know what the other place was, but suddenly we're back here and having to deal with this world.
You know, Christy, I have to ask you, and that's what was so fascinating for me, that I'm just so blessed. And I just thank you again. I thank you for this conversation. I just have to ask, because you're near death, you were 12. How, like
Yeah.
12, you were preteen, right? You were
Yeah.
young.
Yeah, I was really young. Yeah.
So how do you, I was an adult. I was in my the 30s, like late 30s ish, maybe 40s. I don't remember. But I had trouble. I I still have trouble. Not everything is like perfect. How did you, as such a young girl, going through all of that normal stuff that we go through at 12 and 13 and 14, how did you navigate not knowing, like how did you navigate both worlds at such a young age when you had so much going on? How did you do it?
Yeah, to be honest, I don't know that I did, Laurie. I came out of, I remember waking up and I was in the critical care unit and there were tubes and things and I was now paralyzed and just down one side of my body. I'd had a massive stroke because I had a brain bleed. If you're not familiar with my story and you're listening to this, I had a brain bleed and that turned into a stroke and I flatlined on the operating table twice. So that's just a very, very quick summary of my experience. When I came back, I was like, but where's that other world? What was that? Where have they gone? Because there were people, there were beings. Now, there's so much that I resonate with your story, Laurie, because you were talking about how it wasn't like we identified as male, female, glasses, mustache, long hair, blonde hair, red hair, whatever. In my experience, there were beings, and I wasn't permitted to see features. And so I didn't know who they were. I didn't necessarily resonate with them. So coming back, I was like, well, where did they go? Where are those other people? What were they and where are they? I liked being with them. I was really happy to stay, but I didn't get a choice. Here I was. But I think also being 12 years old, Laurie, I didn't necessarily have to integrate, reintegrate. I didn't have to juggle the two worlds because I was so young. I hadn't really formed who I was as a person yet. And then like the effects of my illness became everything because, I had to learn how to walk and talk and I was paralyzed and I wasn't at school. There was over a year where I just couldn't even think about going back to school. I was in a place where I had parents who cared for me. And it was interesting when you talked about thinking about your husband at the time. And there you are going, "Where's my dad?" What a question, huh? It's amazing what comes out. I feel for my parents. I think about what they went through. But I was 12 and they did everything for me. They got me better. They cared for me, looked after me, helped me. It wasn't that I had to navigate the two worlds. Things just were how they were. And they were different from before, but in a way I hadn't really thought about the meaning of life and I hadn't thought about who I was as a was I physical, was I spiritual? Yeah, it was kind of the thing that started a lot for me, but it wasn't that I came back and had to deal with a lot of what you would have had to have gone through being a little bit older. Does that make sense?
Yes. And but at 12, I go back to my world at 12. You have to think about our little sacred selves at 12. At 12 years old, we hadn't lost our parents.
No.
Right? We hadn't lost a best friend. Maybe we might have lost a dog, maybe, but who at 12 would have you lost, even if you lost a grandparent or a great grandparent, you wouldn't have been that close, that bonded, that connected
Mm.
to. And even if a great grandparent did come to you, you might not have even recognized that was a great grandparent. Like, do you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like at 12, there's not a lot of world context, like you say, that you have to do, but you still have an integration coming back. It still must have changed how you've done. I know you don't have a before and after, but it still must have changed some of the things that you went through in life. Like, did you
Oh,
have?
yeah, absolutely. It changed everything. At the time, I was very active. I was a competitive gymnast. I was very, very physical in life. I was at 12, you're all about you're about yourself. You're not really considering other people at that age. So then my physical world and all my training and everything suddenly stopped, and I had to sit still and make sure my heart rate didn't go up so my brain didn't bleed again, and different things like that. But it did change everything for me. Yeah, it's a really interesting one because I think about that. I go, I wonder how that would have been different if I was even in my mid 20s. You're at a very, very different stage of life by then. So really interesting. And you're saying, like what you're saying, you may not recognize past loved ones who would show up in an experience. At any point, did you kind of step back a bit, not physically, but go, but hey, Dad, you're dead. How are you here with
I
me?
I didn't know. That's the crazy thing. I didn't know. First of all, I didn't know I was dead. I thought I
Yeah.
was in the right place. And I thought I was in the place where I had to be. Dad was in the place that he had to be. There was no such thing as dead. We were only alive. Like this was what alive was. So this
Mm,
was the normal place to be. It wasn't until I got brought back here. And it's so funny because they always talk about the tunnel. It was not until I got bumped really hard by my dad. Now, I try to correspond to the human life, what was happening. I would ask, so at that time, what the hell, like, what
mm,
happened moments before I was brought back? Because I don't have any consciousness. I have no idea what was happening on this above the rock. I have no idea what was happening. I was in the ether somewhere else. So on this rock, I have no idea. So when I was being bumped, what was happening on the rock on this earth that were they shocking me? Like what was
mm,
happening? And apparently they were like shocking and shocking and they did a sternum rub and they were all so close to intubating me because I wasn't breathing. So they were doing chest compressions. They were bagging me with the thing and my physical body, they pushed that air mask so hard on my face, they popped out a vertebrae in my neck. So when I came to, I couldn't move my neck because they had popped out a vertebrae and I didn't know. I couldn't move my neck. Where they did a sternum rub, I was like black and blue. Where they had those big chest pads on to shock you because they would put the big
Mm,
they put big sticky pads on. They
mm,
shocked me so much, or cardioverted. They shocked me so much that when I went home, I had a cool, the uh, stove, how we have a coil on the
yeah,
stove. Well, I
yeah.
had a coil in two parts of my body burnt into my body as a burn from being cardioverted and cardioverted and cardioverted. So when I came back home, my physical body was destroyed. It was broke. My neck was bad. My breathing, I had a sore throat. My ribs were broken. They broke from doing chest compressions. They broke my ribs. Like
Goodness.
I was battered, beaten. I was so, and I come back with, so yes, I have an SVT. This never has happened before, ever in my entire life. So I come back now, and now my body is broken. My neck is like, I can't figure out what's wrong with my neck. I still have trouble with my neck to this day. My ribs, you can't take a deep breath in. My black and blue chest, my burn marks. I had a burn mark on my back because where all they put the sticky pads. So I came back with just horrible, horrible injuries that I didn't even know what the hell happened. But when I was being bumped, I went through the whitest tunnel, and I still think of that tunnel. I still think of it you know what? There's not probably a day that goes by when I'm sitting quietly or life gets a little tough or it's like, oh, like this is another day. And I think of the tunnel and I think of the darkness and I think of the peace and it kind of puts me back together again. So now I have a question for you. I'm just so nosy. When
Fine.
because you were like, you didn't really, young lady, so we're reintegrating, but you're trying to get your body healed. Do you think of that experience you have? Like, do you go back and do you think about it? Like, you know how we have a dream and it's like, yeah, I remember that, but I don't quite remember that. Do you go back and think of that moment when it happened? Like, how do you think of that and how does that come to you?
Yeah, I think about it a lot. There's a moment in my experience where I was in darkness, and it was interesting when you were talking about the darkness because it wasn't a negative darkness.
No.
I don't know about you, Laurie. My NDE was quite confusing.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was a little bit like, where am I? What is happening?
yeah.
It wasn't terrifying. There were parts, yes. Anyway, I was in the black. It's like an absence of light rather than a darkness. And then there was like this white light that came. And that was the moment where I just felt the love and the joy and the happiness. And I think about that space. And I think a lot about what if you actually completely die? You don't come back. So I believe that we go so far within an experience, a death experience, but we still come back. And I think probably my experience was quite brief. I don't know. Hard to tell because time's not really a thing as well. But I think about what would have I experienced if I had stayed dead, if
Me
I
too.
hadn't have returned back to the body. And it's
Me
not in
too.
a negative way, it's just a curiosity way. Like I'm curious because the feelings and what I experienced was so amazing. Does that just get better and better? And like, where did we go from there? Whereas I only had that for a little bit, and that's where I've seen these beings with no features. And next thing I know, I'm back in my body, and that's when I'm in critical care, and I'm going, but where did they go? So to answer your question, I do think about it quite a lot. It's, I don't know. I mean, it is just who I am. I still have things. I was quite determined to heal very quickly. I feel like it was meant to be that my experience, everything was exactly as it was meant to be. I don't look at it and I don't grieve. I don't miss my old life. There were times, I mean, it was hard at times. It's not all a bed of roses. But I think overall, I was like, that was meant to happen. That was great. Let's get on with living this life. And I just always want to get the most out of this life be the best I
Okay.
can be, do the most I can do.
So I
Yeah,
have another question. That's another thing I find fascinating. So pre near death, like now, so I was an adult when this happened. So owned a real estate broker. I own one now. So I owned a real estate brokerage back then, and I was in real estate. And you're goal oriented. You know, we had a house and we had cars and we had the typical real estate world and we had a very blessed life. I'm going to say quite blessed. We had a beautiful home. Everything was materialistic, like very how you are ranked in society was based on what you had and how big it was and how new it was. And, it wasn't about the car payment size. It was about what you look like out there and how you styled. And then literally it was like day and night snapping. I looked around and I come back to this physical plane. Oh, you know what? The the poor guy must have had like Twilight Zone wife or something. I come back here and I looked around and it was like, what are we doing? Like we are
yeah,
so far off base. You like, what are we doing? I got rid of everything. I got rid of all the household stuff. I got rid of it. I sold the house. I'm like, we don't, I got rid of the cars. It's like, we don't need this. I got rid of everything. I didn't have anything materialistic, but I didn't go normally halfway down the road. Like I literally got rid of like everything. So like everything, like probably a 20-year-old had more furniture than we did. Like a 20-year-old starting in college had more
yeah.
furniture than us. But it was just to prove the point when you go to that space, when you go to that beauty, it's not about your car, your bed, your king size bed, the house 60-inch big screen TV. I don't care. It's not about that. Those are all dead weight baggages that just only bog you down in life. So I have almost come back so minimalistic that stuff doesn't mean anything to me. And so when you are now a young girl going through all of this, so my feeling is because there's a lot of people that have had a near death experience. I was blessed that I had it in the hospital where they got to watch my tape. We were very lucky. If you're going to be lucky about something, we were very blessed in this way that we were in a hospital care setting that they could say, yeah, this is what happened and this is where you were. So that's good for us. That's in a way it's good. But in the other way, we're still left with being rebooted. And I think every person, and this is what I try to communicate with other people. There's a lot of people that have had a near death experience that actually died, might have died at home, might have had a heart attack and they were dead on the floor and they got resuscitated. But there's nobody there to tell them that they actually were unalive, so to
Mm,
speak. So
mm,
when there's nobody there to validate or verify it, when we stop, we have no bodily function and we get rebooted back into the body, we have we are different. Like we are different. I've talked to some people. We are different.
mm,
We're just rebooted differently. We're still the same human being. What creator created you created me, but we got rebooted in a different way. So when you think of your time, it's not like a dream. Is it like more? Because for me, it's so vivid. It's like I can remember it just like yesterday. Is
mm.
that how that is for you too?
Yeah, yeah. Like when I talk about going back to that light piece, it's just there. It's so real. It's not like a dream. It's like a thing that actually happened. In some ways, it does feel like it was just yesterday. Probably more, yeah, I don't know. I think because I was younger, I can distinguish a little bit, but it feels so real, and the time piece is just really confusing for me. But yeah, coming back, a lot of people that I've talked with and interviewed, I've interviewed a lot of people. They talk about there's one that sticks out. It was like a jigsaw puzzle. And you know, when you get a piece and it just doesn't quite fit in the space, it's the right shape and the picture might be the same, but it just doesn't quite fit in the space that it needs to. So someone mentioned that. Another person's mentioned it's like putting on a wetsuit. You know how hard it is to put on a dry wetsuit, but you put one on that's already wet and you got to pull it on and you struggle with it. And it's like it doesn't quite fit. And you can get it back on, it does fit, but not really. There are two analogies which have really stuck out with me over the years of what it's like to come back. But people come back, so many people tell me that they're different. They're the same, but they're different. There's also quite a bit of research around, like what you were saying, people come back and they want to get rid of things, things no longer matter to them. I think that probably happened for me. I wasn't interested in things when I was younger. I wanted experiences. I wanted to do things. I wanted to meet people and I wanted to, I don't know. I always knew that I won't really fit into that work life, the career life. I knew that that wasn't going to be for me. Um, Pretty much it hasn't been because there's so many other things I want to do. But people also, there's a lot of stats around when people come back, maybe they want to have a career change. So they might have been high profile business people in top careers, earning top salaries, things like that. And then they decide that they want to become a counselor or someone who gives back to community or works with, in charities or people, the homeless people or something like that. Now, what I'm not saying is that they're more glorified jobs because what we need to consider is purpose within that. So if that's your purpose is to go and work in a high profile job and have the car and the money and the big salary, if that's part of your life purpose and you go, oh, but I could be somebody who works with the homeless people, you're missing a piece there. So there's so
Yeah.
much in this conversation, isn't there, Laurie? So yeah, people come back, they want to change career, they want to get rid of things, very much what you've explained. There's a lot of statistics around relationship breakdowns. So
Mhm.
they can't just come back in, and I'm not even talking spouse or life partner. Like, definitely, there's a very high divorce rate for people who've had near-death experiences after they've been married. So obviously, mine was before I met my husband, so that didn't really apply. But people just aren't able to go back into relationships the same. And that could be in a work environment, it could be in a family environment, it could be any kind of relationship. Just again, it doesn't quite fit how it used to, or priorities have changed, or perspective has changed. So,
It's so funny
yeah.
because so at 2010 when this happened in Canada, we were just coming in and out of a recession, like a really bad one, where people were losing their homes, like
Mm,
hundreds of thousands of people were losing their homes. So I was creating a for sale by owner that you wouldn't have to pay to do real estate agents, and you would have a for sale, and I was a real estate broker, and you would have a for sale by owner product out of my brokerage. So as a business person, that's what I was creating. It was a great idea. I was going to help people. This was pre near death. Then I have the near death experience, and as soon as I have this near death experience, I pop out, and it's like I actually don't want to do real estate anymore. I don't want to help. I don't want to do real estate. I don't want to walk into houses. I don't want to do this job. Like I don't fit into real estate. I don't know how. I don't want to get a commission. I don't want to sell the house for more money so I make more money. I none of that resonated with me. None of that worked with me. We were a husband and wife real estate team. So I was the one that put all the leads out there and he was the one that sold them all. So without the leads, like you,
mm,
it's a problem. Like we have a problem here. So we had a problem with in every different aspect. And it's so crazy because the place where I was the most comfortable, like it's very hard because you take a businesswoman in a man's world who's tough as nails, then you take her out and you put her in here. And now all I want to do is be in hospice. All I want to do is be
yeah.
surrounded by, and people look at me like I was like, what was the word I got called? Morbid. They're like, you're morbid.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it couldn't compute what the hell you were talking about. Like, what do you mean I'm morbid? And I'm thinking, here I am. I'm taking this, it was because it was all about energy and it was all about the people and it was all about the soul. And it was just about taking somebody who was in physical plane on earth and they had no friends or no family and they were from a different province so nobody was sitting beside them and some of
Mm,
them were not even conscious anymore and I would just go and I would sit and there were people, the family was so grateful, the hospice caretakers were so grateful, and I would just sit and I would just I would just sit with them and I would hold space. And of course I cried when they left. Of course, like
Mm.
I still remember all of them. And I didn't know them previous to that, but I sat in that beautiful space and then I started getting judged for being morbid. And so then I was like, oh, I better not do that no more. And then a little bit more, and then it's like, well, why can't you do real estate? And then a little bit more judgment came on. And then next thing you know, I'm starting to morph into something that I didn't want to be because I had to survive on this physical plane in the
Yeah.
business world, and people relied on me to make sure they had money because without me they didn't have a brokerage. So I got rid of the brokerage. I didn't want it. Got rid of the brokerage. Sorry, I got rid of the husband and I got rid of the house. So I just cleaned house and I did the trifecta. I got rid of everybody.
Mm.
And then I just started over and said, okay, what am I going to do? And that's where I have found the most joy in my professional world is I help real estate brokers, I help people, I help agents. And now what I do is I'm an independent real estate compliance investigator, and I go in and I look at the problems, I analyze it, I fix it because I have like high big picture thinking. I can look down and navigate like a big picture puzzle. I can easily put all the pieces together so fast, put it together, and then it's like, here, this is fixed. I have that since my near death. I don't enjoy I love people. I love the
Mm.
energy. I have trouble with lots of people in a room. If I'm on a
Mm.
stage and I'm doing my talk and I'm separated between me and them, I'm good. But if I have to be in a very busy restaurant, I have trouble with lots of people around me. Is that the same for you? Like, what's
Yep.
your thoughts?
Yep. 100%.
Why?
Why? It's too much. I don't know. I don't know. Like, it's like I'm an introvert, but I'm not. Get me in the right space, and I'm really not. Get me with the right people. But to go, it seems pointless. A lot of things seem pointless. And I'm like, I don't need this in my life. I don't need to put myself through this experience. I do want to touch on what you said, Laurie, is you just talked about the trifecta effect. You stopped your career, you got rid of your house, you left your husband while the relationship broke down with your husband, so you split from him. And then we just carry on with the conversation. So a piece that I really want to touch on in this conversation is people often go, I wish I could have a near-death experience. And I'm like, no, hang on a minute. That's all well and good because you hear these beautiful things like you talked about the tunnel with the white light and this amazing thing. I talked about the beings and the white light. But there is so much that goes with it. Like, I can only just imagine how much emotional stuff you went through to get to that point, to be brave enough to, that's painful stuff. That's big life decision stuff. So, I do think that when we come and we reintegrate back into this world and we find that we're different, we just want to go and sit with people on their deathbeds, which I resonate with too. It's it's so different to what everyone else does. And
Yeah.
it's not always easy. And it's not always easy to be the one that says, actually, I don't want to come out for dinner and I don't want to do everything that comes my way because I just want to be at home by myself. I love being at home. I love being at home with my husband and my daughter and the cat and the dog and literally doing nothing. I love it. But then you find the right things that light you up. And I think that's where we get our energy from. And pursuing those things is really, really good. So it is the same for me.
It's good. And the thing, you know, I always would say when I was trying to reintegrate and I was trying to find it, in the beginning, I kept saying, like, I was so mad at God. Like, I was born and raised Catholic. So we went to church and I always wanted there to be a heaven. I didn't know because you're young when you're going to church and stuff like that. And so after this near death, I came back and I gave back. I was really good. I didn't like drink. I wasn't crazy. I didn't do drugs. I got a job at 13. I was very responsible. And I came back after now this near death. and I was struggling with reintegrating. And I got so mad at God. I said, like, if we are all God's children, why would you put me back on this hole? Like, why? Or give me some guidance, give me some help, give me some support. Like, why I'm plunked back here and I just don't want to be back here. What did I do to deserve this? Like, why wouldn't you just keep me dead? Like, why wouldn't you just keep me there? So for the longest time, and I resonate with people who have lost children in hard ways. And I do a lot of work with people of crisis and especially with houses. Like we get lots of those. And I deal with the victims of crime quite a bit. And one of the anger and resentment is like it's tough. My kid is gone. It was in a tragedy way, and it's coming to peace and surrender with that. And people will say, well, that was probably meant to be. And I said, or it was just a human error. Like I know that we have all divine intention and divine, everything is working in its space, but maybe there is you're not worthy of all this stuff that bad happened to you. So I really try to make sense of when people, just like I did, what did I do that I got stuck back here? Why was I punished? But in being coming back now and having a little bit more wisdom after this time, it's not like, how dare I get put back here? It's how blessed was I to have touched that and to come back and to sit and say nothing and to not share is just that's just not what we should be doing. We should be sharing. There is people who are worried about dying. They're scared to die when they're sitting on a hospice bed. They're afraid of it. My uncle who passed away, he was very afraid to die. So, but when you break it down, what he was afraid of, he was afraid it was going to hurt. He wasn't afraid of where he was going. He was afraid of the pain. And even though there is no pain, I just there's so much to talk about and give reassurance to people who are stuck right now. And the world seems to be a little bit more chaotic than it always is. Like there's so much dynamics going on. And I just relationships are all about that's what I find fascinating about your story is you have the beings. Well, those beings are literally vibrational energy objects of people
Mm.
and relationships that are binging around your life. So it's just it's just so cool that we have kind of like the same experience and totally two different age groups, like
Yeah.
young lady, older lady, you know?
Yeah. And totally different what we came back to. A life is so unique, I think. And for me, I think because also I was young and I came back feeling like everything's exactly as is meant to be. I was like rearing to go. My body, not so much, but I was like, let's go do this life. So I think it's probably easier for me to look at the good stuff and not get angry at God. Why did I not stay? Why am I here? But I want to have all the experiences. I want to squeeze the juice out of this. I want to pursue the goodness and be kind to people and make people laugh and make people happy, whatever that might look like. So I think we can't be comparing our lives, whether we've had an experience or not, because we are doing very, very different things. And that's where the purpose piece kicks in as well, is we might have a different challenge for this life, a different goal, or I don't know. I don't want to get hung up on having to achieve something.
No,
And
it's
I
more
can't,
about experience. Like that's why when I come back now and I've got a second kick at this, it's like it's like the world is my oyster and not
yeah,
what do I have, what do I want. It's not about that. It's like what do I get? It's just the experiences of what it's the experience of it. So when I'm petted, because I have a dog, Jasper, and so
mm,
when I'm just sitting with him and you hear, and he's just about before he goes to sleep, he does that. And when he has that sigh, it's like the world is so perfect in that moment.
yeah,
So it's not about what we have, what we do, what we create, what we desire, what we manifest. It's more about what we are sitting in the pocket of just the piece of it. And I just want to, I enjoy every moment. And that's why like this moment of this time, this sacred space is, that's what I think of it to be is I just feel very blessed to be in this little sacred space with you.
Yeah, yeah, I like that. I think also we've got to look for the little happy things. Life can be tough, but life can be great. It can go both ways. And so trying to make more good times, trying to make more positive moments. And if we don't know how to do that, I'm always like, try and find where you can help. If you want to create more life and you don't know where to start, try and do something for someone. And I think it opens doors to more happiness opportunities without an objective of actually having to achieve anything. It's more about attracting something, I suppose. Again, yeah.
It's definitely exposing yourself. Like there's so many things different that I'm doing now that outside of my comfort zone I wouldn't have done. But it's not that I'm like worried or nervous or scared. There is that, if it goes great, wonderful. If it needs tweaking, okay. If it doesn't go very good, that's okay too. I don't have an expectation of li I, life just comes to me with sometimes it's we got some good stuff, some hard stuff, some
Mm,
not so hard stuff, but whatever comes, I'm always like riding the wave. It's like, okay, well, thank you for that. What are we learning here? It's
mm,
almost like, thank goodness I have this.
mm.
But I wasn't like that 15 years ago. 15 years ago, that was a totally different integration. It's taken work, it's taken awareness, it's taken mindfulness. It's taken a little bit more patience. So
Yeah,
when you now have a child, your daughter,
yeah.
Do you raise, do you, you didn't have one before, but do you have, when you raise her as a mom, what's the moral of the story? Because I have a son and I had my son pre near death and I had my son now post near death. So he got to see two sides of mom. And as a child, as a young man, and then now he's in his 30s. So when you have this child, what's the moral of the story? What's your thoughts on raising your child, your daughter?
Oh my goodness. I certainly don't feel like I'm in any expert situation here. I have one, so let's just put that out there. I've only had one experience. I feel like death is a very normal conversation in our household. I've never hidden anything from her. If she wants to, she can come and listen to this podcast. I actually don't know whether she ever has, but I would hope that maybe one day, once I have gone, that she would listen to all of the episodes and feel like she might learn a little bit more about me. But I feel we need to just be really open about all the conversations and very accepting as well. So death is a normal conversation in our household. I know it's not in other places. Sometimes she'll shut me down and go, "Oh, you're just a little bit weird, mum." But overall, I just want to make life normal. And I know normal, like what is normal, but what I mean by that is the conversation's normal, that it's normal to chat about things. It's normal to think about death and know that none of us are getting out of here alive. So I don't want it to be morbid. I don't overly share my thoughts around stuff with her, but it's certainly a transparent thing. I don't hide anything from her. I don't know. I don't really have the answers because I'm no expert. So it's hard to know, but I think they see something in us. From our experience, I want to go and do things. I'll never just sit back and relax. And I know that some people listening to this might think that you and I have got this all together because we've had the experience and the way we're talking about look for the good things and do this and do that. And I do not have my life together, not by any means. So,
It's
yeah,
so funny you say that because every time I'm interviewed, they all have this. That's what I think is so crazy. They all have this idea that I don't know. It's like I have all the answers or something,
yeah,
and it's almost like I've got the keys to the kingdom, and I'm like, no. I have
no,
no idea what the hell I'm doing in life right now. Like just a minute. Like business is hard. I'm navigating every. hold on. Like I put my pants on just like you every morning. I struggle just like you. There is
Uh-huh.
no keys to the kingdom. There is no answers in the book. There is no, I don't have a cheat sheet. I don't have a cheat
No,
code.
no,
I don't
no.
get that.
I think I probably have more questions than answers. So
Yeah, me
many
too.
questions. Yeah. I just know that I want to push boundaries and I want to not take everything for face value. And it might get me in trouble. It has at times, and it's all part of the fun.
Exactly. But you just gotta try. And I would rather, I say that I would rather die trying than to never have tried at all. Like if
Oh,
it
yeah.
fails, I don't look at failure or success. I look at them at the same energetic level. Like I don't think one is better or worse than the other. The sadness would be is if we didn't try. And so sometimes a lot of people will calculate 4 steps ahead and they'll try to be like, well, if we do that, but that might not work, so I'm not going to do it. Yeah, but along the way, what if there is some divine magic that
Yeah.
we're magical beings? What if some magic pops in that we're not even aware of and it takes a totally different path? How could you not try?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm all about we've life is a magical path. I'm not asking you to walk on every single path, but you got to experience the path to the beauty that it is. Like you walk on every step on that path, and I love every piece of it. Not all of it is great. There's things that are tough, and no, it's not perfect. But I would
Mm.
rather try navigating perfect and try navigating hardship than to never to try at all. So
Definitely.
it's just so cool to hear that you're touching every aspect. It's like eating every piece of fruit. I don't want the low-hanging fruit. I'm going to go for the highest fruit that's the ripest and the sharpest. And I'm going to take a
Yep.
stick and knock it down. And
And if I fall
I
out of the
just,
tree, then we'll deal with that later. Yeah,
exactly. So it's kind
exactly
of
like that.
cool.
Yeah, I really do like that. There's a saying that I say quite a lot, and it's don't die before you're dead. So I think a lot of people go through life and they actually start to shut down well before they die. And it's like they're dead on the inside and they're going through the motions. And maybe they're in a job that they hate or they're in a relationship which really isn't working. Now, I'm not saying go and change relationships that quickly. I'm all about trying to stick in things and make situations work. But so many people live in these habits and these routines and they're miserable. They're dead on the inside. And I think that's, yeah, when you talk about what do I teach my daughter, it's that we can always create opportunities. There's always options, there's always things. Yeah. We make it sound so easy, don't we?
I know, right? It's
I love
not.
that.
It's
It's
not.
totally not. Yeah, life is not always easy. Lorri, I have loved chatting with you.
Thank you. You
It's
too.
it's just been so wonderful. There's so many great points in there about reintegration, about what do you do after an experience. I like that we've touched on the age piece because that's a question I get quite a lot, and I feel like I've even processed some of that by talking with you. So, thank you so much for coming on, sharing your story, and putting some beautiful energy ideas out into the world.